everyone, welcome to the Mufasa book readings. Yes, you heard correct. The book readings are back, and we are reading from Simon Sinek's book titled Start With Why. I hope you really enjoy the book, and let's get right into it. Chapter 1. Assume you know. On a cold January day, a 43-year-old man was sworn in as chief executive of his country. By his side stood his predecessor, a famous general who 15 years earlier had commanded his nation's armed forces in a war that resulted in the defeat of Germany. The young leader was raised in a Roman Catholic faith. He spent the next 5 hours watching parades in his honor and stayed up celebrating until 3 o'clock in the morning. You know who I'm describing, right? It's January the 30th, 1933. And I'm describing Adolf Hitler and not, as most people would assume, John F. Kennedy. The point is, we make assumptions. We make assumptions about the world around us based on sometimes incomplete or false information. In this case, the information I offered was incomplete. Many of you convinced that I was describing John F. Kennedy until I added one minor detail, the date. This is important because our behavior is affected by our assumptions or perceived truths. We make decisions based on what we think we know. It wasn't too long ago that the majority of people believed that the world was flat. This perceived truth impacted behavior. During this time, there was very little exploration. People feared that if they traveled too far, they might fall off the edge of the earth. So for the most part, they stayed put. It wasn't until that minor detail was revealed, the world is round, that behaviors changed on a massive scale. Upon this discovery, societies began to traverse the planet. Trade routes were established, spices were traded, new ideas like mathematics were shared between societies, which unleashed all kinds of innovations and advancements. The correction of a simple false assumption moved the human race forward. Now consider how organizations are formed and how decisions are made. Do we really know why some organizations succeed and why others don't? Or do we just assume, no matter your definition of success, hitting a target stock price, making a certain amount of money, meeting a revenue or profit goal, getting a big promotion, starting your own company, feeding the poor, winning public office, how we go about achieving our goals is very similar. Some of us just wing it, but most of us try at least to gather some data so we can make educated decisions. Sometimes this gathering process is formal, like conducting polls or market research, and sometimes it's informal, like asking our friends and colleagues for advice or looking back on our personal experience to provide some perspective. Regardless of the process, the goals, we all want to make educated decisions. More importantly, we all want to make the right decisions. As we all know, however, not all decisions work out to be the right ones. Regardless of the amount of data we collect, sometimes the impact of those wrong decisions is minor, and sometimes it can be catastrophic. Whatever the results, we make decisions based on a perception of the world that may not, in fact, be completely accurate. Just as so many were certain that I was describing John F. Kennedy at the beginning of this section, you were certain you were right. You might have bet money on it. A behavior based on assumption, certain that is, until I offered that little detail of the date. Not only bad decisions are made on false assumptions. Sometimes things go right, we think we know why, but do we really? That result went the way you wanted does not mean you can repeat it over and over. I have a friend who invests some of his money. Whenever he does well, it's because of his brains and ability to pick the right stocks, at least according to him. But when he loses money, he always blames the market. I have no issue with either line of logic, but either his success and failure hinge upon his presence and blindness, or they hinge upon good and bad luck. But it can't be both. So, how can we ensure that all our decisions yield the best results for the reasons that are fully within our control? Logic dictates that more information and data are key. And that's exactly what we do. We read books, attend conferences, listen to podcasts, and ask friends and colleagues, all with the purpose of finding out more so we can figure out what to do or how to act. The problem is we've all been in a situation in which we have all the data and get lots of good advice, but things still don't go quite right. Or maybe the impact lasted for only a short time, or something happened that we could not foresee. A quick note to all of you who correctly guessed Adolf Hitler at the beginning of the section. The details I gave are both same for Hitler and John F. Kennedy. It could have been either. You have to be careful what you think you know. Assumptions, you see, even based on sound research, can lead us astray. Intuitively, we understand this. We understand that even with mountains of data and good advice, if things don't go as expected, it's probably because we missed one, sometimes small but vital detail. In these cases, we go back to our sources, maybe seek out some new ones, and try to figure out what to do. And the whole process begins again, more data. However, doesn't always help, especially if a flawed assumption set the whole process in motion in the first place. There are other factors that must be considered, factors that exist outside of our rational, analytical, information-hungry brains. There are times in which we had no data, or we choose to ignore the advice or information at hand and just went with our gut and things worked out just fine. Sometimes even better than expected. This dance between gut and rational decision making pretty much covers how we conduct business and even live our lives. We can continue to slice and dice all the options in every direction, but at the end of all the good advice and all the compelling evidence, we are left where we started. How to explain or decide a course of action that yields a desired effect that is repeatable. How can we have 2020 foresight? Thank you so much for joining today's book reading. I hope you don't forget to like, comment, share to your family and friends, and be part of our beautiful community. Thanks for watching. Bye.